is nothing but paradise. And that one who makes a Hajj without, committing any crimes or treating people badly, etc., such a person will return from his Hajj pure from sin like the day he was born. So on the basis of these statements of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, people have missed the spirit of what was being said, latched on to the text, the words, and concluded that it's best to do Hajj when you're ready to die. No sense using up this wonderful opportunity when you're younger, because then you're liable to come back from Hajj and start doing bad things again. And then there was no value, you've lost the value of the forgiveness or atonement or salvation you got from the early Hajj. But this is a very distorted concept, because what it does is it assumes, one, that you are guaranteed the next year, or the next 10 years, or the next 20 years, or 30 years. And the reality is no one knows when he's going to die. He can die anytime. He can get sick anytime. Things can happen to him when he will want to make the Hajj that he won't be able to make it. So it is folly for one to think of Hajj in this light. And if one lives a life of corruption, for one to be able to go and make Hajj, which will be of a standard, which would be acceptable to Allah, it's not likely. I won't say impossible, because, Allah is the greatest, and people can make major changes in their lives. But the reality is that when you're in the habit, when you've lived your life as a corrupt individual, choosing that path deliberately, knowing righteousness and avoiding righteousness and choosing evil, then the latter part of your life, for you to go and make Hajj at that point, thinking now that you can make a Hajj wherein you won't curse anybody, you won't harm anybody, you won't commit any kind of corruption, you will come through with a pure Hajj, the kind of control, self-control that requires, you have not developed. You have been living a life of, total recklessness. You've got no control in your life. So why do you think that at that one instant, for those few days, right, 5 days in your life, you are going to be able now to have the kind of control you never did? It's not likely. In fact, when you go there, and Hajj is a lot of difficulty, even with all the facilities that are now available, making Hajj much easier than it was, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Still, there is difficulty. There are the huge crowds, people are crushed together, somebody will be stepping on your foot. And if you don't have any kind of self-control, when a person steps on your foot, your natural reaction is to get angry into. Somebody will be elbowing you in the head, people will be pushing you, and you'll be falling down. All these things will be happening to you. And if you don't have a consciousness about what you are doing, that this is for Allah, etc., and have developed self-control by practicing the principles of Islam, the 5 pillars all along through your life, then you will not be able to handle that. You will not have the kind of mercy which will be able to carry you through that Hajj without reacting to what people are doing to you. And as such, you will not gain the rewards which Allah has promised for those who make an acceptable Hajj. And Hajj has in it, as the Prophet ﷺ stated, that it is compulsory once in a lifetime. It is the major sacrifice that we make once in a lifetime. Of course, we may make Hajj beyond once. However, again, Hajj should not become a matter of prestige. See, because what has happened again too in the Muslim world today, in many places, when a person makes Hajj, he is now called Hajji. He has this title is put on him now as he's a Hajji. And he may wear a cap on his head when he never used to wear a cap before. And he is looked upon in the community in a special light, right? And it becomes an issue of prestige. And people may talk amongst themselves, how many hajjs did you make? So-and-so said, I made 30 hajjs. Or I made 40. The other one said, no, I made, And it becomes an issue of mutual boasting. Like how many times have you been to New York? How many times you've been to London, amongst the materialists, right? I mean, it becomes a similar kind of material boasting. And this is not what Hajj is. Remember, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ made one Hajj. If it was about trying to make Hajj every year, so you can put some notches on your belt or whatever, then Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, would have done so. He made one Hajj. And what we have to realize is that one Hajj that you make, that's the one that counts. You need to make one which is the compulsory one, and do it to the best of your ability. Following that, you may make voluntary hajjs, and of course there is reward in it also. But the one which was compulsory on you, the very first one you made, that was the one. And the Imam quoted statements of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, wherein he said, for example, that we should hasten to Hajj, for no one knows the time of his death. And in Islam, there is no such thing as an individual who never makes Hajj in his life. Of course, this is for those who had the ability, because there will be people who will not make Hajj in their lifetime. In fact, I would venture to say that the majority of Muslims will not make Hajj in their lifetime. However, the intention, because remember, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said that deeds are rewarded according to their intentions. So for a person who is unable, but he has the sincere intention to make Hajj, if the ability comes to him, then of course he was rewarded for that intention. And he, in another narration, had advised us that we should hasten to make Hajj, whoever amongst us who wishes to make Hajj, because we never know when we may become sick, or our circumstances may change, or we lose the ability because of one need or another need. And he mentioned the case of Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second caliph, who chose to, or decided to take jizya from those people who had the means to make Hajj and didn't do so. That jizya is a tax imposed on non-Muslims who live within the boundaries of Islam. And this tax which they pay, something like tribute, but what it really is for their defense. They are not obliged, or they are not required to join the army to fight in the defense of the Muslim state. The state provides things for them. They do not pay zakah, which the rest of the Muslims pay, so instead there is a tribute which is taken from them, which may vary in quantity depending on the need, on the time. Not as in the case of zakah, the compulsory pillar for Muslims, there is a set amount that is given, whereas in the case of jizya, it varies. In any case, when a non-Muslim pays jizya, he's excused from military service. Only Muslims will go to fight. So Caliph Omar had decided to take jizya from those Muslims who had the means to make Hajj and didn't make Hajj. He was considering them like the Christians.